Okay, so our first review of the day is going to be for the animated anthology series on Amazon Prime called Secret Level. Now, Secret Level is from the creative mind of Tim Miller. People might know Tim Miller. He directed the very first Deadpool film there, and he also did another anthology show that people might know called Love, Death, and Robots, which is on Netflix there. So this is kind of I haven't seen Love, Death, and Robots, but, it seems like it's very much in that similar type of style there, adult kind of graphic type content there you have with that anthology, so it seems like he's doing this. But this time with Secret Level, this is, some of the episodes and pretty much the whole concept of the show is based on video games, and you'll see some famous kind of video games pop up here that they're referencing, stuff like Sifu, stuff like Pac-Man, games like Dungeons&
You
and
might not
Dragons.
recognize that though.
Might not recognize it, Warhammer 40K is also in here. You have so some of these episodes are direct, connections to the video games there, and some are just kind of, like, inspired by different kind of various video games. They're not anything in particular, just kind of inspired. Like, you see the Dungeons& and Dragons there, you see kinda that one, very much of that inspired of it. Even Mega Man. Mega Man is also a big one that pops up in this one there. So you see a lot of those kind of games there in this. Each episode not very long. Only these are like 10 to 15-minute episodes there. None of these are even coming close to 30-minute episodes. There's no real connective thread as far as I could see there in any of these episodes. Each one are completely separate and different. Following all these different video game concept and different video game franchises. So that's basically your setup here for Secret Level. Sage, what are your thoughts on Secret Level?
Well, so I had watched a little bit of the Love, Death, and Robots series. I didn't see the whole thing though, so I kind of had a sense of what they might try and go for here. Although I will say this does not experiment, I think, nearly as much with different animation styles. There's a couple. Sifu, I think, is maybe one that stands out as looking maybe a little more different than others. Um, the Spelunky one also looks a little different. But for the most part, I think a lot of these have a very similar kind of hyper realistic visual style to them. So, again, not all of them, but I think a lot of them end up feeling a little more samey as far as like an anthology goes. Um, and that being said, I also think that there is, I think, a problem here in terms of just how short these are and feeling more like an extended trailer for these games rather than actually telling like a short story within the shorts. And there's some exceptions to that. I think a couple of these do a more interesting job of that than others. But yeah, for the most part, I feel like it was like watching a bunch of trailers at an E3 show, almost
Mm,
more than anything.
like teasers for an upcoming game there that you would see and
Yeah,
get
yeah.
you
Like I think
excited.
the Sifu, exactly, and I think the Sifu one I think is a really good. Or you know what? Maybe even the Mega Man one is maybe even the best example because it's so short and it really is just like it ends with and we are he's just putting on the costume. Like it was almost like they went with like the Daredevil Netflix show route of trying to tell like a story like that. But when it's a short like that, I feel like you just why not just kind of dive right into it and just go for it. Like on the positive end of an example, one that I really liked actually was the Warhammer 40K short. I think that's one of the best ones in here. And it doesn't try too hard to tell like a complicated narrative, but it does give you a pretty good grasp of, hey, this is what Warhammer is like. It's yeah, we're not diving into the lore of the world or getting super caught up in the story, but there is a small arc that plays out over the 15 minutes, and it just gives you a great look at like what is this thing like from a stylistic perspective. Whereas something like the Mega Man one, I think it's in and out so fast, and like I say, he's only putting on like a suit at the end of the short, basically. That, like, if I didn't know what, honestly, I watched this with someone else. This is what they said. If I didn't know what Mega Man was, that would not have gotten me to want to play Mega Man.
Mm, okay. And this is the animated show. I'm going to show a trailer here for Love, Death, and Robots, like I said, which was the other Tim Miller thing. And hey, how's it going there? Let me winks there. What's up? And then you see like here, so this is some different, looks like different animation styles. Yeah, you got the hyper realistic one, but then you got more kind of anime one looking animated style. Um, yeah, so you got a lot of different looking animation kinda going on, looks like in these episodes, as opposed to, like you mentioned, in Secret Level where, mostly it's kind of a hyper realistic kinda style, and then sometimes I wouldn't say it's like Uncanny Valley, I wouldn't say it's like something like Robert Zemeckis, like what he does with his movies there and a lot of his animated stuff there. I
They
think
don't
they've
have dead shark eyes, at least.
Yeah, I don't think you have that. Like people, remark that with his movies, like famous for that is like Polar Express. That was famous for
Polar
that.
Nightmare.
And then more over the years, Robert Zemeckis kind of refined it because he did like Beowulf, which I think also, yeah, I mean that refined it. It didn't have much of that look to
I
it.
think that looks a lot better. Yeah.
Yeah. So it kinda has some of that, but you mentioned they do some a little bit of different stuff there, like with the Pac-Man episode, they do a little bit of a different look with that one. The Sifu episode, they do a little bit of a different look with that one as well, but most of it is kind of more of a hyper realistic kinda animated style for most of the episodes. Um, the most of the stuff I did like was stuff that I kinda knew, like the Sifu one was good. I like that one because maybe it's because I was very familiar with Sifu and I like Sifu a lot. And I don't think that story doesn't require really a lot to tell it, really. I mean, you can do a
Sure.
kind of a simple kind of setup for it. But it does feel like a lot of it just feels like proof of concept. Like these are just
Yeah.
like, hey, if we want a bigger season 2 with more expansive, like 30-minute episodes and everything like that, then, this is kind of a tease for people. If people really respond to it well and like it, then we're gonna get a season 2 with episodes that could be maybe 30 minutes or 40 minutes or something like that. Um, and it kinda that's how I kinda feel about it. It kinda feels like kind of that biggest thing of it. What do you say about that?
Oh, I 100% agree with you. It feels, yeah, it feels like they maybe even wanted to do more or go bigger with it, but and maybe it's because the animation's expensive to produce. That could be part of the reason that they almost had to do this first season as like a let's just prove that we can do this. So, I mean, if it leads to something maybe more impressive in the future, because I know this did get renewed for a season 2 already. So, we'll see how that plays out, and maybe they'll really ramp it up and do something with that. But otherwise, yeah, I 100% agree with this first season. It does feel like a proof of concept sort of thing. Like we're just kind of pitching. It feels like a pitch to get you to play the game rather than here's like its own standalone piece of entertainment. And I think that's like, I mean, talk about feeling like a commercial. I think the last one at the very end where it's just like vaguely Sony exclusive cameos in a short. It was
Yeah.
like it was like it was like what was that movie with Joseph Gordon-Levitt as the Premium Rush? It was like
Mm.
Premium Rush with PlayStation cameos.
Yeah, that episode, Playtime Fulfillment is the episode there, which basically the whole kind of it's no real it's just like PlayStation. That's the thing. It's just
Man.
PlayStation.
And they didn't even go as far as they could just with that. Like if we really were just like trying to throw a bunch of PlayStation cameos in there, they only had like 3 or 4, and I'm like, there's so many more properties. If all you wanted was a cameo fest, you could have had a way bigger cameo fest.
Because yeah, in that episode, you got Christopher Judge who makes an appearance. He's Kratos in here. Then you got the Hell Divers characters. They pop up. You see them. So yeah, you see them kind of pop up.
A Colossus from Shadow of the Colossus, but I
Yeah,
mean, they kind of just come and go. I feel like they don't really do much.
yeah. It's just like, hey, I mean, maybe I mean, like I said, maybe in season 2 we're gonna get the Astrobot of anthology episodes, and we get to see really, maybe it takes it and improves upon it and does a lot of that. And this was able to get a lot of big name talent, a lot of big name actors. You saw maybe in the trailer there a lot of list of names. You have Kevin Hart, you got Keanu Reeves, you got I mentioned Christopher Judge is also in this. Patrick Schwarzenegger. You got Emily Swallow there, so you got some good name. Also, Arnold Schwarzenegger also appears in this as well in one of these episodes. So you got some kind of some name talent in there with this. How did you feel about the voice talent in this?
I mean, I think the voice acting is all pretty good. It works for what it is. I mean, I think at the end of the day, because the stories aren't very complex, the voice acting doesn't feel like it needs to be either. And so what you have ends up working just fine. I wouldn't say it stood out as anything like remarkable, but it is serviceable for sure. If they, hopefully get to do maybe some slightly more complicated stories or just get to be more ambitious with what they're depicting on screen in a season two, then you maybe could get some bigger performances out of them. But I can't say that there's any that like stand out in any really significant way.
Yeah. They try to cram some deeper stories in these little kind of time they have, and some like the Spelunky one, which is one of the shortest ones out of all the season. And that one is like, so it takes the concept of doing like these kind of Metroidvania type games, these runner type games there, where you keep in the character keep constantly dying over and over again at one part of the game. And so it's like, okay, what if a character really did do that? What if a character there was a person who could just regenerate every single time they die? The toll that would take on the person there, like just every single time you think, well, hey, I just got another life, I'll just come back. But then it just kind of becomes over and over again. And just you see the toll of that on them. So they kind of do
If
some of those
you
lessons in it.
I would say that almost it's not in it's definitely not in every short, but there is a little bit of a recurring element of that because the Sifu Gate, the one also has that to it. The Unreal Tournament one also has that to it. The New World, the one with Arnold, also kind of has that to it. It's not all of them. It's probably not even half of them, but that pops up a couple times, and it's kind of interesting that they replicate that across a few different shorts.
Yeah. Yeah, the meaning of life and living it and you know what I mean, and everything like that. They do kind of bring that up. Yeah, the Sifu one, you mentioned that one. That guy who was playing Sifu was ass. I don't know. Damn, he was it wasn't even that was like the second boss he was on. And he was dying. He was already like age 60, 70 by the time he got done with it. It's like, damn, man. Man, I don't even think I was that bad on my first try at Sifu. I don't even think I was that bad, but that dude was terrible. But you do got that one.
How'd you feel about Zack Snyder's Pac-Man?
So the Pac-Man episodes, I guess that's one of the if you had to say what was the one that people talked about the most out of the season, I guess that one was probably the bigger one.
Probably just because it's so weird. Because it's so strange. It's like can't. I could never have imagined coming up with the idea to do this with Pac-Man.
So it's like, yeah, this let me see if I can pull up a clip of it. But it's like, yeah, so Pac-Man in this is kind of portrayed as like this symbiote type creature there that kind of
It's
hacks
like an
into
it's like a Cthulhu level like eldritch god almost.
um and you see that it just kind of was able to take these people, following them on this journey, and then until it gets to the end where it kind of burrows its way into people's backs and then becomes like this hideous kind of monster there. So it's way different than obviously. I mean, if you had to just come up with a concept for Pac-Man there, I mean, it was like it's out there for sure. With that, would you want to see more stuff like that with the video game?
Well, I mean, here's the thing: is this is a basically a piece of marketing for that Shadow Labyrinth game that they announced at the Game Awards near the end of last year. So this is literally like a direct tie-in to that game. So that's coming out at some point this in 2025.
Mm, yeah.
So we're
Oh,
gonna
I
we're
do.
gonna get some more of this either way.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, I do remember that the showing the preview for that game, yeah, that one. And then you see here, so this is the episode, like, you see a little bit of here, so you turn into this creature, and then what happens, and then you see that kind of the Pac-Man-esque thing kinda just moves on to the next person, like, it's trying to, like, I guess, go through this goal and then have a person who's able to strong enough to get out of wherever it's trapped at, and then it kinda just
Yeah.
repeats the cycle over and over again with the whole kinda, I guess, respawning element of things, of video games. Um,
It's like Cthulhu being trapped in like a dream and like waking up to end the world. It's literally like this eldritch god that is trying to consume reality or something. It's like I said, certainly I never would have come up with a concept for Pac-Man like that.
would you say it's one of, you know, least favorite episodes, favorite episode in the middle somewhere?
I mean, it's one of the most memorable ones, so I guess I like it for that reason because it's just so weird. I showed it to a couple of my friends just because I was like, you're never gonna believe what they're doing. So it stood out. I mean, I might say my favorite one is probably the Warhammer 40K one. I think. I mean, even just as a rule of cool, just kind of heavy metal album cover elements. I thought that was just a lot of fun, and the visuals of that really worked well for me. I also liked the Armored Core one. I thought was pretty good with Keanu Reeves. I thought that was pretty strong. Um, and then I had never heard of the game before, but one of the other ones that stood out to me was what was it called? Um, uh, yeah, the Honor of Kings one, which if you look at the game, it's like almost like a League of Legends style, like MOBA multiplayer type thing. And so I don't even know how they got that short out of what that game is like. But I thought that was pretty cool, the board game between the boy and the like computer program on like kind of discussing like the nature of fate and stuff throughout the whole. I thought that was actually a pretty novel as far as like storytelling goes. I thought that was maybe the most interesting story that was told in any of the shorts. Um, I would never play the game it's based off of, but I thought that was a cool sequence at least.
Yeah. What's your least favorite
Um, I hmm, I think probably that last one that was just the PlayStation cameos because I felt like I don't know. It just felt like all right, we're going on a bike ride and there's PlayStation cameos. Like it felt like it had the least to it. It felt like the most like an advertisement out of all of them.
one? Okay.
Like I can
Um,
see a 30-minute commercial about somebody trying to bike away from a bunch of PlayStation cameos being like a good ad for the PlayStation 5, but I don't know. It just didn't really feel like it had much else to it.
um, yeah. I mean, if they want to do, I said maybe if they had more time and maybe do like more of a Ready Player One with it and did that, maybe
Sure.
that would make more sense with the cameos and coming in there and doing it. Yeah, I'd say that's one of my least favorite ones. That
Oh,
one,
Concord. We
there's
haven't mentioned Concord yet.
that one.
The most successful PlayStation game of all time. That's
Yeah,
very much still alive and running.
that one they were trying to push heavy, so that one's in here as well as one of the games they mentioned there for that one. Um, it seems like it was kind of fine, I guess. I mean, I don't really remember that
It's just
much
generic, really.
space
It's just
crew action kind of thing. Yeah, like a them. Like it's like okay, not really. I don't think all that memorable. The Spelunky one I liked. I liked that one quite a bit. The Mega Man one again. That was so short. I mean, it was. I mean,
yeah. I wish that one had been longer. I
that one
also
was short.
wish that was the one where I most thought I wish they did more varying art styles because I think of Mega Man, I think of something much closer to a Mario or a Sonic or there's something just a lot more cartoony. And so I also felt like this hyper realistic Mega Man just wasn't a very interesting visual style for Mega Man.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. Yeah. I think that would have been because it's like kind of this. What was that Robert Rodriguez movie he had that anime? What's that called? Akita Battle Angel or something.
Oh yeah, yeah. It definitely looked something. I only ever saw the trailers for that, but it did kind of look like that.
Yeah. It's just not that very interesting for this. I don't know. Maybe with Mega Man, maybe if you did a throwback and did it like an Astro Boy type, like that old school
I was
anime.
about to bring up Astro Boy. That's exactly the style I would have gone for.
Yeah, maybe that would have been probably more fun for something like this instead with that. But yeah, and he doesn't even turn into Mega Man like I said to the very end, and then that yeah, it's just uh 8 minutes of him arguing with his, creator, and then it's like, you know what I mean? I want to help, and then it's like, okay, fine, and then he kills this big monster that comes in, and it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess you're not fucking useless after all. Okay, well, let's go.
it felt like I wish I could have heard like how that was put together and what they were thinking during that process, because I feel like as like if you were a producer, you would have gone in there, seen what they did so far, and they were like, this is what we have so far. What do you mean so far? You know this is the short, right? Like you know that this is all the time you have. And they're like, oh, we thought we had an hour and a half to build up to something.
Oh, man. Seafood one I liked, as I mentioned. The first one, Dungeons and Dragons, opens up pretty good. I think they do some good stuff there with that style. The one, what was the episode that just showed there about the guy who gets his all his human, like he's a test subject? That one, what's that one?
Um, the Outer Worlds.
Outer Worlds. That was a good one too. I like
Yeah.
that one quite a bit there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a game from Obsidian, which is the same studio that did like Fallout New Vegas and like Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic too. They've always had really great kind of good satirical writing.
Yeah. So a lot of these episodes, I just noticed they had one with God of War, but that wasn't in here. Correct.
That was the PlayStation cameo one at the end.
Oh, that's just a cameo. Oh yeah.
Yeah, he just drops down and gives a mean look for a couple seconds, and that's all you see.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, the story of these episodes are pretty solid, they're pretty good. It's just that you just wish there was just more time, and that's
Yeah,
kind of the biggest thing about it. It's just like it's a good sizzle reel of like, hey, you know what I mean, of these kind of things in these games and everything, but it doesn't really turn out to make much more than that.
I think this was probably best case scenario for the show is if you have a friend or family member and they're like they think video games are stupid and you're like, hey, no, they could do some really cool stuff. Watch the short film and maybe you'll change your mind.
Yeah. I don't even think with this, I don't think people go like, "Oh, yeah, I see it now. I see the vision with video game." I don't even think that would do it. So what would be your final thoughts and rating for Secret Love?
I mean, just echoing a lot of what we've said already. I think, yeah, it's just the biggest problem is these don't have enough time to feel really fleshed out or significant. Some cool stuff in here for sure. I mean, when it comes to the quality of the animation itself, I think it is very impressive looking a lot of the time. There's shots that even look almost photorealistic, especially in like dark lighting, here and there. So like, there's some really impressive visuals, for sure. And a few of the shorts do touch on some bigger themes, but just from a lack of variety and a lack of time to really tell something more significant, I think it ends up being just all right for the most part. I'd give it like a low tune in. Like
Okay.
I think I'm like I still found there to be interesting things here. So I don't think it was like a waste of time to watch. And then, the benefit is also that it takes very little time to get through it. So you are not sitting down for some big commitment either. So yeah, like I'd say like a low tune in.
Yeah. And with Love, Death, and Robots, that was also kind of very short. Like those were only like also like barely 20 minutes,
Yeah.
right? Those are also kind of
Yeah,
like
those some of those are even like as short as like 8, 10 minutes too. I think that just worked better because they were completely original stories. And so they were just designed to be shorts to begin with. And they just experimented more with different art styles and that added a lot to the novelty of it.
mm, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's some solid episodes here. I mean, you could really watch this in a whole day. Like I say, each episode's about, most I think the longest one is like 19 minutes. So you can watch it in a whole afternoon, whole day if you wanted to. And there's some interesting stuff going on here. Some of the voice performances are good. I like the one Arnold Schwarzenegger. That one, he did I mean, funny kind of voice performance for his there. His kind of whole story that they do is kind of funny. Um, yeah, so this is kind of the thing about it. It's just like, hey, it just they're trying to jam this into 15, 10-minute episodes, and it's like you wish you just had more time with a lot of stuff kind of going on. And it just kind of feels like ultimately just like a sizzle reel of, like you said, you would watch at a convention or game awards and then go like, hey, we got this cool new game coming, and they'll show this, get you pumped,
Right.
get you excited there like a minute and 30 seconds. Like, oh, okay, yeah, all right. And then, and wait for the gameplay trailer of it. That's kind of the thing of it. Yeah, does it make you want to play some of these games there?
The Warhammer one made me want to play more Warhammer. Like that one definitely made me want to play more of that. But that's kind of the only one, honestly.
Yeah, that's maybe kind of the only one, maybe for that one if you want to do it. But yeah, none of them I don't think really like does a lot of these video games justice there. I think for that it's like, man, I really want to maybe play these games, go out there and do it. Maybe the Shadow Labyrinth one, maybe that one. That one.
That you know what? I'll give that one too because it's just so absurd and weird that you almost have like a morbid curiosity about the game now.
Yeah. So for me, I just kind of give it. It's fine where it is. It's on Amazon there. Just to stream it, just kind of a plain stream it for me for secret level there. So you would be interested in a season two?
Yeah, I mean, at least if they evolve it and do more with it, I would be curious. I mean, I know they did get a renewal, so it is for sure happening. And again, I think it takes so little of your time to sit down and watch it. So I think it's also like, yeah, whatever. I'll check it out. But I do hope that they're longer, and I do hope that they get to do be a little more ambitious with the stories they're presenting.
So you give it a low tune in. I give it a stream it for secret level on Amazon Prime now. All right.